The Shadow of the Indian Territory, the legend of the unstoppable Marshal. The year was 1875. In the dust-choked plains of the Arkansas-Oklahoma border, the law didn't exist in books. It existed in the chamber of a .44 caliber Winchester. If you were a horse thief, a murderer, or a whiskey runner, the Indian Territory was your sanctuary. A 70,000 square mile labyrinth of jagged canyons and lawless timber where the U.S. government feared to tread. But there was one name that made the most hardened killers drop their glass in a Fort Smith saloon. A man who stood 6'2", wore a black hat, rode a massive gray stallion, and carried a silver star that seemed to glow with a divine, terrifying authority. His name was Bass Reeves. He had been born a slave, escaped into the wilderness during the Civil War, and emerged not just as a free man, but as the greatest manhunter the American West would ever know. Chapter 1. The Judge and the Giant. The air in Judge Isaac Parker's chambers smelled of old parchment and gunpowder. Known as the hanging judge, Parker had been tasked by the Grant administration to clean up the hell on the border. He needed men who were incorruptible. He needed men who could track a mountain lion through a thunderstorm. "They say you speak the languages," Parker said, looking up from his desk at the towering figure before him. Bass Reeves stood motionless. His mustache was a thick, groomed line across a face that looked carved from basalt. "Creek, Seminole, Cherokee, Choctaw, and Chickasaw, Your Honor," Bass replied, his voice a low, melodic rumble. "I lived among 'em when I ran from the chains. I know their land better than I know the palm of my hand." Parker pushed a stack of warrants across the desk. "These men are the dregs of the earth. Most marshals won't go after them because they don't come back alive. I'm giving you a badge, Bass. I'm giving you a gun. But I can't give you a guarantee you'll see tomorrow." Bass didn't flinch. He reached out, his large hand covering the stack of warrants. "I don't need a guarantee, Judge. I just need the law." Chapter 2. The Art of the Disguise. Unlike the marshals of Hollywood movies who rode into town with spurs jingling, Bass Reeves was a master of psychological warfare. He knew that a black man in a lawman's badge was a target, so he became a ghost. In the autumn of 1882, Bass was hunting two of the most notorious brothers in the territory, the Webb twins. They were holed up in a cabin 20 miles into the brush, guarded by a pack of hounds and a clear line of sight for half a mile in every direction. Bass didn't ride up on his gray stallion. Instead, he found an old wagon, wore tattered rags, and slumped his shoulders. He removed the heels from his boots to walk with a limp. To anyone watching through a telescope, he looked like a weary, broken-down drifter looking for a place to die. He walked 3 miles on foot, his pockets filled with handcuffs and his belt hiding 2 pistols. When he reached the cabin, the brothers were sitting on the porch, laughing at the old beggar approaching their gate. "Water," Bass croaked, stumbling toward the porch. "Please, my horse died back at the creek." The brothers lowered their rifles, grinning. "Come on up, old man. We'll give you a drink before we send you to the devil." As Bass reached the top step, the old man vanished. In a blur of motion that defied his size, Bass's hands went to his waist. Before the brothers could even stand, they were staring down the dark twin voids of Bass's revolvers. "Jim, Arthur," Bass said, his voice no longer weak, "I have a warrant for your souls, but the judge would prefer your bodies. Hands up." The brothers were so stunned by the transformation from a dying beggar to a towering titan of the law that they surrendered without a single shot fired. Chapter 3. The Moral Compass. The legend of Bass Reeves isn't just about his 3,000 arrests or the fact that he was never wounded despite having his hat and belt shot off multiple times. It was about his ironclad commitment to the law, a law that hadn't always protected him. The ultimate test came when a warrant was placed on his desk for a murder in Muskogee. Bass picked up the paper, his eyes scanning the name. His hand trembled, the only time in 30 years his hand had ever shaken. The name on the warrant was Benny Reeves, his own son. Benny had killed his wife in a fit of jealous rage. The other marshals in the office looked away. "You don't have to do this, Bass," one of them whispered. "Let someone else bring him in, or let him run." Bass Reeves stood up, his spine as straight as a lodgepole pine. He pinned his badge tighter to his vest. "If I don't follow the law when it hurts me," Bass said, "then I have no right to enforce it when it suits me." He tracked his own son for 2 weeks. He didn't use a disguise this time. He rode straight to the camp where Benny was hiding. When the father and son met, the silence was heavier than a mountain. "Pa," Benny pleaded, "don't do this. You broke the covenant, son," Bass replied, tears welling but never falling. "Turn around." Bass Reeves personally escorted his son to the gallows of Fort Smith. It was the hardest arrest of his life, but it cemented his legacy as a man of godlike integrity.